for being here. So tonight we have 3 articles ready to go. And if you don't mind, we're happy to jump right into them.
Let's do that.
Okay, awesome. So we'll pass these around. Yeah. So we're starting with Article 5, it's association rights and responsibilities. Which one is it? Yeah, it's okay.
I'm giving it to you now.
Yeah,
It's over. It's me.
it's good.
That way. Thank you.
All right. Maybe they'll also.
And we'll just give you some minutes to peruse through that.
And this is just Article 5, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What did they separate? Oh, yeah. So we have eco staples and it from some, but just warning as you're passing it, like sometimes they fall apart. But it does work nicely in a 3-ring binder when it's all.
It does. I like it.
Was there enough to go around?
Yes. We have one.
There's more. There's a stack.
Will someone save one for Brad?
Yes. Yeah.
I texted him. I'll do it.
We can say this, but he's not.
He says he's not coming. It's his daughter's birthday.
Okay. All right. I think everyone's got a copy. So we didn't have any changes in the very beginning. Most of our changes in this bill was just some cleanup and making sure we're compliant with House Bill 2016. So our first changes are down in 5.6. We just used a switch to CAN, made to a CAN for district email. Oh, sorry, I missed a will also in 5.4. So 5.7 is the bulletin board, just matching the language that's now in the GAEA contract, making sure that we have space to inform our members about any information they need to have. 5.9, most of this also is current practice, but again, matching that GAEA language. And we did add in the shared spreadsheet, which has been implemented in Salem and has worked really well to keep information up to date. So making sure that all pertinent information is available.
What's our current practice? How do you receive it now?
So there's a list that's like sent over based on House Bill 2016, the timing of when those need to get sent. But this extra piece that Salem has utilized is basically a shared doc that is kind of live updated when a new person is hired. It's because there's this window of like, we know they're hired and we have all their info and now it's all put in there. And so for Salem, their, I don't know if it's their payroll office, but they essentially, as soon as they have all that info, they just put it in that doc. And since the union has access to look at it, then they can see kind of like live updates as they come in, instead of waiting for it being batched in a list that's then sent.
So it's like sending, yes, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not
So the live update is especially helpful in windows where it's almost changing daily, like all those last minute hires right as the school year is getting started. It can be very helpful for us to be able to make sure we can welcome every employee right when they're starting. And so that's what the ask is, like, if it might be possible for y'all to explore having some kind of shared doc. And we're open to like what type it would be. We just said shared spreadsheet.
Okay.
All right, our next proposed changes are down in 5.10. Again, talking about association dues and authorizations, matching GAE language and compliance with House Bill 2016. The purpose of that section. Right at the bottom of that section, we've had some adventures the last few years with dues deductions and when things haven't been taken out, and then having a many months at a time having to come out of an employee's paycheck, which is really creating a hardship with some of our employees. So really trying to make sure that that doesn't happen and that they're not liable for a whole lot of money at one time that is really important to their family.
And you're talking about that first long paragraph in section 510?
I'm
Or are
talking
you
about
further down?
the last paragraph, sorry.
And again, it's the error is the district, not the member or the association.
Can I ask a question on that? I'm on page 2, at the very bottom. So the association sends the list of folks to have dues deductions to the district, right? What's the list being sent back to the association from the district in that very bottom, the new language at the very bottom?
Yeah, so that's just standard procedure. Like when deductions are made, we get a list of like, this is with remittance, like
Here's who got, and
these are
here's
all
how much got
deductions.
deducted from whom.
Yeah.
And that is part of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just see that that's a part of it.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Moving on, and we just struck the part that would be contradictory to that added part. 511, 511, and 512. So we're asking for an increase in association leave hours and asking the district to pay part of that release time, as well as our association covering part of that release time. Again, this is really to help be compliant with that House Bill 2016, where we need release time for the new hire orientations, for contract enforcement, disciplinary meetings, for bargaining, just finding that the current release time is not satisfactory to fulfill all those duties. And that we're still kind of catching up from years where we haven't had chances to meet with employees. And that's also addressed a little later than this, a change that we've made.
Can I ask a question about that piece? Do you, maybe this one's more for you, Amber, but do you view that pool of time to be the House Bill 2016, like where it lists 8 reasons why you view that's what this is for?
It's an increase for the association president of the 0.3. That portion, yes, would be able to fulfill those House Bill 2016 duties. Our president goes to an enormous number of meetings for contract enforcement, for investigatories, and yeah.
I guess I'm looking at that current pool of 150 that you're proposing to increase to 300. Do you view that as being the pool of time from which those House Bill 2016.
So House Bill 2016, the employer pays for that time.
Right.
That first paragraph, you'll see the last sentence says the association shall reimburse the district at the sub rate
Yeah.
for that. So that's not.
And I wouldn't have
We're-
thought
we're
that
paying
either.
for that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have thought that either. Maybe I misheard you when you were talking about why you needed to double that amount. I thought,
It's the 0.3.
The 0.3.
I
Sorry,
see.
I was talking about the
Okay.
additional district fee for this time.
Yeah. She also is generally stating that there just is a lot more
Uh-huh.
happening. And there's a lot more that also requires things that the association is paying for.
what typically comes out of, how is that current pool of 150? Like what things is that currently being used for?
So like if we need to get members together to talk about an issue, it doesn't fall under House Bill 2016 if it's the initial general conversations. So, and there has been an enormous number of issues that have been happening over the last couple of years. So it does cover some of that. It
Mhm.
also covers like if the association takes people to union conferences.
That's what I would have
and
thought
things
that
like
one.
that as well.
Lobbying, maybe.
We have, well, yeah. Yes, I think we have had it come out of there. Lobbying. It's like once a year.
Okay, thanks. We were looking at this also and trying to map out what's covering what.
And I have questions about the second two paragraphs there. The district will grant the leave up to 0.8 release time, right? And down below, GAPS will pay for part-time 0.5 for the union president at the substitute rate of pay.
Yeah, so right now the district would pay 0.2 and we're asking for it to be increased by 0.3. 0.2 plus 0.3 is 0.5.
What's the 0.8 above that? Release time?
That's the total release time. So then our association would pay for the
Other
other
0.3.
0.3.
Yeah, because like right now the association could pay to do more release time than we currently are using.
Okay. Thank you.
And then moving further down in B there's just a little in that sentence. And some formatting as we move to that page. Some meandering. So then, as we see before, 5.15 again goes back to the time trying to capture where we haven't had a chance. Some of the employees that we have are not necessarily hired this year, where we started our new hire orientations. We have kind of a backlog of a couple of years where we haven't had an opportunity to meet face to face with some employees, and just to regular meetings, check-ins, see if they have any questions about their employment. So that would cover there. 5.16 is really our request to have a representation on committees that affect our duties that our members perform.
So does that mean that, Andy, you were asking?
Go ahead.
Does that mean that every member will get an hour during their work hour?
Sorry, are you on? Oh, sorry,
5.15.
5.15.
Is that what you just
That,
read?
that they have the ability to, that they would have that.
They could request.
They could request that. So it wouldn't be us going out to schedule a meeting with every employee in the district for an hour, but if requested, that employees would have that ability to do so.
Because we do still have folks approach us who are like, I never had any kind of orientation 2 years ago. I never had any orientation 4 years ago. There was just a window of time in which House Bill 2016 wasn't being followed and we weren't given the opportunity to do these orientations. And that backlog of people occasionally still have them come to us and say, I didn't get to go to one. Could I meet with you guys? Could I, get the info that everybody else has?
And these are people who are not active union members, correct?
Let's go to 5.16.
Okay. So 5.16, we're actually going to be proposing when we present Article 6, a workload committee. Just to to review duties, so you'll get more information on that. So 5, 17, and 18, again, talking about this, the committees and representation. Committee pay, and then per diem for any training or committee work outside of the scheduled or the normal schedules.
So do you, my understanding is like district safety committees. Is this just affirming what is already happening? I think you guys are,
These are all and many of them are new committees that were created in a certified contract.
We don't necessarily have an equal number of classified to certified on all of those committees. And so it would give us the ability to have equal representation there as well.
so, gaps bond oversight. What does that look like? Typically, when you have a bond, you have to pass it before you get there. Is that,
So if it existed, then contractually we have the right to have people on
Any other questions?
Nope.
You mentioned the workload committee. It's not on here.
it's, yeah, but it's gonna come at 6. I mean, that's,
That's what I mean. It's not in the list, right?
It's at the bottom, the right half letter I.
Oh,
Yeah. Yep. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and pass out Article 11. Reclassification.
I send them both ways, or if any of the extras can make their way to me,
Yeah.
whatever next case is. Go that way then.
Thanks.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And this area out here is like fence locked, so there's no random people that would walk in there.
No worries. All right, so Article 11, reclassification. A lot of our work in this article is cleanup. We thought there was kind of a hodgepodge of information here that probably belonged better in other places. So to start, we have a movement to Article 5. And then some reformatting. So in the new A then would be instead of just to our local president to the association. And then E, just an inclusion there, including but not limited to current job description, current and past assigned job duties, comparable other job duty descriptions and duties. Okay. And as we move down, we have another movement into Article 32 to the grievance procedure. Where do you have?
Yeah, letter
Oh.
C, we're actually proposing that we would no longer have involuntary reclassifications downwards. So we're not moving that to another section. We just don't believe that it should happen.
So even if an employee requests it, you don't think it should happen. So
No, that would
Can
be
be voluntary.
So we're gonna keep walking through,
Yeah.
but involuntary reclass downward, we don't think. Essentially, when you create a job, write the job description and post it as something people can apply to, the person applies, interviews, is accepted for a specific job, and to then change it on them later and reclassify it downwards to lower pay isn't really fair to the commitment of like the job that you offered the person. So we don't want any kind of like bait and switch. So the reclass downwards when it's not that person's choice, involuntary, we just don't think that that's a fair thing to do for workers.
And then adding into that, just the mutual agreement with the employer and association and effective dates of reclassification. And then the OE section G, so we're moving that to seniority.
We're on the bottom of page 2 there.
Mm-hmm. The bottom page 1, then moving to page 2.
Okay.
So then to talk about, we understand that there are sometimes temporary out of work classification. And just making sure that if that has to happen with what jobs available or what needs to be done, that that the employee who's in a higher classification will be considered to still be working at their own rate of pay or the pay that matches the step number for their current wage table to the same step number on the temporary reclassification positions wage table. Making sure that the work they're doing is commensurate, but not at a loss if they're having to take a temporary assignment. And furthermore down in there, that if the person is being paid a higher classification rate because of out of classification duties, that any paid holidays would be included in that time period.
One quick formatting thing. So throughout our proposals, we've got it underlined if it's new language that's new to the CBA. But for letter F, this is being moved from a different article. So it's new to this article, so it's underlined. But I italicized the sections that are a change to that, because I thought that might be helpful for you. And so down in, I guess it says G, but it's crossed out, but the temporary out of classification work lower classification, and towards the bottom of page 2, there's another italicized section there as
Got
well.
it.
So you can
Thank
see
you.
where we made changes instead of just moving it full stop from the other section.
And then from there, moving on to page 3. That's just the strike again, believing that
That's
out of classification work should be temporary and not done involuntarily. Okay. Those my questions there. We can move on to Article 8, employee safety.
And for this article, we're passing on as Article 8, but we've kind of stapled it all together since it is being proposed all together. Is that we are proposing a new appendix H, a brand new appendix for the CBA, but it's related to safety, so we could put it all together for you today.
Okay, as it's passed around, I'm just gonna preface this article. There's a lot of work that went into this because as you can imagine, this has been a topic that has been very near and dear to our members for a lot of times. It really, for a long time, it's needed to be addressed. There's been a lot of work, statewide, nationally, as far as employee safety. And so we really want to capture it as we can in our local contracts. Everyone go through them. All right, so starting at the beginning, safety requirements. Just really wanting to maintain a safe work environment for all of our workers, making sure that we're complying with all regulations to ensure that safety, and making sure that any certifications that are required, the training must be provided, and equipment operating safely to carry out these duties. That's 8.1.
And also just to say, our current Article 8 starts off, with this on lines 32 is where the current article starts. And it really makes it seem like the article starting off and it's just about dealing with, it says aggressive or violent students. And we believe safety involves a lot of different things for different workers across the bargaining unit that aren't always about violent or aggressive students. We also, it's just like not good to even refer that way to students. So we should check that out. And we want the article to start off more about the generalized overall safety.
And then as we move to 8.2, we are more focused around the students. So we believe that any employee who works in school buildings should be provided de-escalation training. And that for mid-year hires, that training should be provided within 30 days of hire. And then we're asking that staff be paid for the minimum of 16 hours to complete the required district training, including the safe schools and whatever other de-escalation training, other trainings that will be required, licensure, certifications.
And it states that it's a minimum because you obviously have some employees who have quite extensive other things they do beyond what others might. So.
And that also transportation employees, including bus drivers and aides, should also be provided specialized training designed to support the safety, welfare, and needs of a student on the bus. Currently, we're using MANT, at whatever other trainings that we might use. We would like to make sure that those are available and provided. And then just really hoping that we can work collaboratively to make sure that any trainings that we might need, that we can provide that to all of our employees. Okay, as we move down to 8.3, there's some duties that we believe should be required to person staffing. And this is for the safety of students and staff, that any kind of personal care, escalation, safety risks, personal and medical care. As we move to page 2. So that we believe that there's also person staffing. We also believe that, again, compliance with current legislation, that any classified employee who is assigned to work with students and be granted access to IEPs, 504s, behavior and safety plans, can also be consulted with when the plan is being developed, revised, invited to meetings. Anytime that a classified employee works with a student with needs, that we have to be aware, we have to be able to be a part of the process.
And then also to be in compliance with the ORS 343068.
Also, we would like for employees from the IEP team to meet with classified employees to go over the full IEPs 504 included in the employees' assignments before working with said students. And anytime that there's been a modification, that will also be reviewed with the employee within 5 working days.
Is there a significance to the color change there?
So again, this is one that's moved from another article, so technically that whole paragraph is new to this article. And so, but I, marked it so you could see how we were modifying
Okay.
the section from the other article.
Okay,
So
thank you.
got a lot. It's still running.
It says certified employees from the IEP team. Could it be the case manager, his one employee instead of plural? Because we put, there's time for certified case managers, we would like that in their day. In the certified contract, so.
This is actually, this has been a certified contract for a really long time, last negotiation, and there is state statute around.
But that's what I'm saying, I'm mirroring that.
You made a comment that we're already doing it, is that what you said?
You started.
Contract, but a lot of, sped folks are still only 7 hours and they are not given the time to meet certified contract or classified contract, so I just want to be sure.
But I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah. Again,
And it sounds like we are.
Yes.
yeah, current GAA contract says teachers will meet with the assistants, right? But we just felt like it should be up to date, that it's not always the teacher.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Please want to make sure.
And the strike through is 8.1 because it's replaced with the legislation language up above. And then 8.5, the new 8.5 there refers to, we just want a timeline for whenever an employee makes a report, but we'll make sure that that's addressed promptly. 8.6, back to healthy working conditions with state and federal regulations. And that anytime an employee is required to fill out an accident report, document any incident, that should be done on as paid time. That moves over to page 3. And again, a time frame so that any issue can be addressed promptly. And B is also notify the member that the committee report and the results of any inspection, again, will be reported back and reported back promptly.
And then just another formatting note, anywhere that something's in brackets, like where on line 9, it says from GAEA CBA, it's in brackets like that. That means that would not be in the final printed version. That's just for you all to see during negotiations.
Where it can.
Yeah, so that you can see, that like the section below, we moved it over from the other CBA, so you know where it came from.
So, yeah, so that the end of B, C, and D are all just matching that contract language. Okay. And 8.7, that was also one that in your proposal you had proposed to change because we realized that sometimes that $500 doesn't cover. But we're also asking for any personal property that's not just limited to eyeglasses, because unfortunately members have sustained losses of a lot of our personal property. And then moving on to 8.8. If there's some employees who are required to provide medical services or administer medications, and that they should provide training but they also should have the ability to decline any delegated medical tasks they do not feel competent or safe to perform. And that we would not like them to suffer any reprisal for that.
So they would be operating under a delegation. Is that right? So a
There are
nurse,
some tasks that have been delegated, like to our PCAs.
yeah, and so um, short of like having a nurse in every building,
Mhm.
right? That some delegation is a way that it is done,
Yeah.
right? And so someone could just say, "Hey, I'm not comfortable with that," and we have to go find someone. Or
So, yeah, so the way things work with medical delegation is that both parties have to accept a level of risk and liability when they do so. So the person delegating, it's like, if it's a nurse, it's on that nurse's license that
Yes.
they delegate it. So they have to assess, am I okay to delegate this to this person? Likewise, the other person needs to assess and decide, am I safe to have this delegated to me? And if they realize they are not safe to have this particular task delegated to them, they need to decline.
Another reason that employee might want to decline is if they're given too many duties. So, for instance, my time when I held the delegations, but I was also a behavior person. It wasn't an intelligent move for the behavior person to have scheduled duties all day long that children depended on.
Because it falls back on safety, that you cannot safely perform all the things that have been delegated to you.
thank you.
8.9. And language in about what would happen when an employee is subject to inappropriate contact or harm or threat of harm. We want we're really requiring language that will give us a procedure to follow. What will the administrator do? What will the employee do? What is, what the protocol, and you'll see, and that's what's addressed in our appendix.
And this one has already been agreed to in an MOU and is already in the GAEA contract. So this is more just, making sure we placed it in the correct spot in the CBA for long.
Is it the same language as the DD one?
I believe so.
Some of it.
It's been copied.
Yeah, I believe so, but feel free to double check.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, the MOU is not identical to GAE, so I think this is the same as the MOU that was signed with GAE.
And again, so now we're asking for the administrative reports, so we can also check in with our members. So in 11, one of the issues that is another spot where we want to make sure that we're having the staff and students are safe is the bus. We right now have a lot of students on buses. Some of them we believe that could be that some of our drivers have feel that they can't properly perform the diligence of driving because of what's happening in their bus. And we have some drivers that are very experienced and can, manage very well. And so we would like it to be at their request that they are able to have an attendant if they feel that their safety is compromised. And then additional requirements that could trigger an aid to be on the bus. Okay. And then moving on to 8.12, healthy learning environments. So just making sure that any history of investigations and work site concerns, that those will be kept. Any record of findings, plans for correction needed, and then also those will be provided to the association upon request. District should provide emergency protocols to our work site, an actual plan that identifies and prioritizes relief or mitigation of issues identified during inspections. And then when projected temperatures in say buildings reach below 6 degrees or or the heat index reaches a moderate level of risk, that the district will consider the following for employees' work setting: alternative workspaces, utilization of early release or closures, and alternative workspaces not limited to working from home. And that would be a mutual agreement with principal or administrator.
And a lot of that is similar language from GAEA.
Including to have a safety plan that will include plans for having access to communications during emergencies. And that we will work collaboratively with outside agencies to identify opportunities to improve security and safety measures. Moving down to 2, that the procedure for dealing with health and safety concerns will be shared annually in August by administrators with their employees and upon hire for those hired after the school year. So hoping that we can make policies available. The email and hard copy to all employees twice a year and safety compliance procedures. In service district administrators annually, review OSHA compliance lists sent out every year. Review accident incident reports annually with facilities director, and these should be available to staff. And review annually with district safety plan committee and implement the district heat illness prevention plan with all staff. And then going on that principals and department administrators will ensure that the safety community members are posted each year. And if the responsibilities are included in handbooks, the minutes of the safety committee are posted, and a report is made to staff and building regarding any concerns raised by the safety committees from the building. And that the safety committee will develop a form for use in staff and reporting concerns and be used for feedback about the action taken on those concerns. Okay, 8.3 is right at the bottom part, so we're having ciphering and toileting. So we believe that when employees are required to assist with that, they will be trained in bathroom protocol by occupational therapist or qualified health professional. And that anytime that assistance is required, that 2 employees will be present at all times with the student. And that the employer will reimburse any employee who insists with diapering and toileting for the cost of a hepatitis C vaccine at the employee's request. Okay. 8.14, fit for duty. So again, making sure that if there's any concerns, that an employee can't meet the core functions of the job, that the employee will have the opportunity to meet with a supervisor, and human resources will review. It won't be just something passed through right away. But they have the opportunity to have the association notified, and that the medical provider can perform an evaluation. Okay, and then again, 8.15 was that we will have an equal representation on the behavior committee.
Can you tell me a little bit more about 8.14? Like, what's the genesis of that, or what is it intended to? Well, I'll just leave my question at that. Where's this one coming from?
Yeah, so we've basically just had a lot of members ask questions about how that works with
Uh-huh.
for duty. And then also, I believe we've had prior conversations with management about this already
Mm-hmm.
and wanting to just have something spelled out in the CBA about it.
Gotcha.
And then what we propose to add in the appendix 8 is included on this, because it would be basically a protocol to follow when an employee is injured and what support that the staff members can receive.
And this protocol comes from Salem. So the Ask ESP, the classified bargaining unit there, has worked tirelessly for many years to try to improve safety in the Salem Kaiser school districts. And after all that hard work, it resulted in this document that you see in Appendix H. And it's broken up into sections that are for the supervisor, for if there's a physical injury, the protocol for the employee, and then preventative action. So it's really supposed to be useful to everybody involved, to be able to look through and see what the processes are. And from what we've heard, both management and employees in Salem are finding this document to be really helpful. I think that they actually share it out with another flyer that goes with it as an educational material for everybody in the district. The flyer has like the phone number to call when you need to call the risk department. It's like big fold on the flyer. So it's like a very helpful document for them.
So there's a flyer that like someone could laminate and have it in their room. So this is not supposed to be part of the contract. It's just
This is
something
an
that-
appendix to list out the protocols,
Okay.
but you could partner it like Salem did with
Yeah.
a flyer.
So all of the, if you look at like the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or so bullets, I mean, all of those are presuming that it's an injury that was entered into the injury reporting system, right?
No, I mean, so like first page, lines 5 through 9 is just an employee was injured.
Right.
And the supervisor should go talk to them and find out if they're okay and see if they need medical assistance.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's an assessment portion before the person is like, yes, I'm definitely injured, and now forms are getting filled out.
Sure, sure. I mean, I just see like check in with somebody within a week or two. Like obviously up at the beginning of all this, if the initial conversation with the employee and the employee said, I'm fine, it's not a big deal, I was scratched or something, but it's nothing that I feel like I'm trying to make sure the supervisor knows to carry out like what triggers for them to know to do all the things on the list, right? Because there's varying degrees of injury, right? And so I just want to make sure if I'm the supervisor, I got pinched, poked, kicked, or I got thrown to the ground, those, and everything in between. Like, how do I know maybe on the relatively lesser side of things, whether to keep doing these things on the list? Is it the fact that they filled out an injury report that ultimately that triggers? So
No, so they need to ask them, like,
Mhm.
do you need medical assistance?
Sure.
And they're supposed to give them a break. I believe one of the processes says give them or that's
Second
actually
bullet.
Article 8 too. Like you need to give them a break.
Hmm.
You need to let them like assess if they need to go to urgent care.
Yep.
So, and then be explicit about like, hey, maybe you do need to get assessed and go. So you're doing those things before you ever know if like an official report is being filed.
Yeah, agreed.
Like provide time for the employee to recover physically and emotionally.
Mhm.
They might need to take a minute even to process what just happened before they're like, oh, yes, I am injured. I should fill it.
Mhm.
So I think these are good guidance for any time an incident happens, whether, like whatever happens after that.
And we're finding by not having the protocols as often is that even that stuff is not being done.
Uh-huh.
And when there is a serious injury, we might not even have a documentation of it properly.
And I just think we really want to avoid the situations where a building is just severely understaffed. And because of that, the person is put under pressure not to go take a break, not to assess if they need to go to urgent care. And rather than them saying, are you okay? Do you need to go to urgent care? They're more saying like, well, who can cover for you? I don't have anyone to cover for you right now. We need you back in that room, right? This is the protocol you should follow, not some staffing protocol about like, well, do you have coverage or not?
Thank you. So I think we should just proceed.
Okay, so we have 4. Okay. And I'm gonna do 2 and then Jane's gonna do 3. The first one is Article 3. Are you passing copies? the non-discrimination and law of classes. I just wanted to say that we really want to, and I noticed you have been doing it too, is we would really like our contracts to be very similar with classified and certified, so that it makes it so that principals and supervisors and staff members can know the contract better. And if they're completely different, it makes it hard for everyone involved. And so, Article 3, non-discrimination, you gave us a new one, and we at the same time had one ready to go from the certified contract. And we just having settled the certified contract, it's identical to the certified language. And we were just hoping that we can do that more and more throughout this bargaining session, so that we can, unless employees, it doesn't make sense for our employees to have the same things, but where that it does, that we treat everyone comparable and have the same. And so that we just absolutely copied and pasted Article 3, non-discrimination from the certified article. That was due. Nice. And then, number, 34, was a big call by Amber. I'm just bringing it back. I told you I would. Article 34, rehire after retirement. And I messed up on, the sick days for, that depending on if you were 10-month, 9-month employee, it was confusing. And so we just cleaned up that on, at the bottom where it says classified staff hired post-retirement. We struck out, will continue to earn 160 per month. We said shall receive 10 days paid sick leave at full pay for each school year, or 1 day per month employee, whichever is good. So that it makes sense for 9-month employees, 10-month employees as well. Okay, and that's the only change from last time. And then if you have any questions for me,
And when it says a day, it's that it's just getting like a phrase typical work day.
Uh-huh.
Like if that person works 4 hours or 6 hours.
that's right.
I don't know.
Okay. And then, if you don't have any questions for me, then Jane will, talk about Article 11 and 23. And you brought Article 11 also, so we're gonna have to look at that as well. I think they're coming around.
I think so. So Article 11, we did not make any changes to anything except the very last on I. It no longer applied to 25.6, but the pay rates aligned with 25.8. So we just made that correction in this. And I didn't catch if you had done that on yours or not. That was our
Section
only
we
change.
deleted.
Okay.
Because you brought the pay rates with into the article itself, right? I'm remembering correctly.
I'll have to double check, but
And we can double check also.
yeah.
And didn't Lisa think that the rest of the um, the language in that paragraph, Jane, needed to stay
Yeah,
because it was current practice.
yeah, it's current practice.
Fine.
And then do you have 23 also? For 23, we did not change anything on the first page. And on the second page, this paragraph was a look back paragraph that in the last contract made sense to leave in, but it was connected to that contract that has expired. And so we thought that it made sense to eliminate that paragraph because it no longer applies.
The second page.
Yeah.
Top word.
Okay, and by striking it out, you're not just undoing anything that done, just to be, you know, further with that.
Correct.
Madam Chair, we have caucus. It's
Okay. Thank you.
So we'll like talk a little bit, and we'll check in with you once we get a little ways into it.
Yeah.
I think we have a rule about how
guys work on any? We worked on two that we have to respond.
Oh, good. We have one, two,
That's
three.
okay.
I do have a clarifying question, about Article 23.
Yeah.
So the section that was, scratched out, we're gonna go ahead and send an info request, but we would like to know the details, the names and the results of the look backs, like, uh, from our counting 5 years from the signing of that, like how many 10-month employees were transferred into 12-month role.
I
Just how
think it
many
was
people
two or
were-
three. There were 2 or 3 people, I think, who have transferred. It was mainly in business and HR.
So over those, since 2018, it's been.
Well, I don't know about 2018. I've only been here for years.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
The language didn't occur that created that look back until the last contract.
We're just trying to understand
So-
if that, if,
So when you wouldn't go back to 2018, you would only go back to
You could though,
when
right?
that language was completed in the last contract.
No, but
But you could go back to
You
2018.
go back 5 years.
yeah, I think we were saying that like there could be so many things their look back included all the way till 2018.
right.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what we're
Oh, I
curious.
see.
And
Yeah.
just making sure that, before we move forward on that.
Yeah.
Like, how many of our members are affected by this, and is it something? we-
And you'll send that. You'll send that.
Yes, yes, thank you. That was actually our only question over the ones we had.
Okay, and then did you guys want to do yours or do you want us to do ours?
I think it's still printing.
Okay,
Okay.
so how about we? We'll start with Article 2. I would wait till you guys tell me that we got it. Everybody got it? Okay, so in staying with the premise that we want to take as much from the certified, we took the article from the certified district rights. 2.1 stayed exactly the same. It was the same in certified and classified. You guys crossed out 2.2. We changed the wording to exactly the wording from the certified. And then we added back A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I, and J. But we took them all from the certified except for we added from the classified H, I, and J. No, K, L, and M. So we took A through J from the certified contract, and then we added K, L, and M that were already in the classified contract, but we just changed them to K, L, and M because we felt like the last 3 in the certified contract were towards certified. It was about classroom instruction, materials, and those kinds of things. And so we wanted to keep it same. Again, that both certified and classifieds looked exactly the same, except for K, L, and M were 2 classified specifically. And then we agreed that we would, when we got ready to do Article 17, we would look at the drug testing for bus drivers being there as well as you did. But we didn't want to get rid of the district writes, because it's in the certified contract, exactly the same. Do you have questions for me? And I'm sorry, I'm coughing it you up. Any questions?
I think it's this time.
Okay. And then, 'cause you probably haven't had time to read them all and compare, but it's exactly A through J are copied from the certified contract. K, L, M are in the current, just so everybody knows. Okay? No language change other than that. And 2.2 is directly from, again, certified. 2.1 is both certified and classified exact language. Okay? Okay. And then we did article 10, personnel records. And we are counter proposal from yours. And they gave us on 3.5. And
It's just going around right now.
oh, sorry, yeah, gotta wait. Thank you. Everybody got it? So Article 10.1, we took your language except for an association. And the reason that we didn't take take an association is that there's a lot of times when people get issued a letter and they don't want anyone else to know. And they don't want other people to have a copy. And so it's always going to be furnished to the employee when first issued and later upon request. And that's your exact language. We took out an association because sometimes people ask us not to share it with anybody. They don't want an association rep and they don't want anybody to know. And that's the only reason for that. And then on 10.2, we just really don't feel like that there are some things that you can't take out of a working file after 2 years. There's been several incidences in the state and in different districts where something got raised about an employee, say, 5 or 6 years ago, and it didn't go to the level of anything other than staying in the working file. And then maybe 6 years later, something happened where it was egregious and say that it was in the news and that kind of thing. And they said, well, we brought it to your attention back in, 5 years ago. We would have documentation that would say it didn't rise to the level at that time. You're protecting the employee and you're protecting the school district. And so we don't really think that things should be purged from files. And then we took your language from 10.3, material placed in the personnel record of an employee without conformity with the provisions of this article will not be used by the district in any subsequent evaluation or disciplinary proceeding involving the employee. And we agree with you. And we took that language and added it in. And then we added 10.4 access. We agreed with you that we should add it, and you did some wordsmithing on, do you have a question for me?
10.4 is new to the article.
No,
You just said you added 10.4.
no, we added your language.
We didn't
access.
underline the word access, should be underlined. Yeah,
Sorry.
that was your proposed add.
It's not underlined,
Okay.
it's bolded.
It's fine. I know.
Sorry. And we took your words the and the because you wordsmithed it
We
for us,
forgot one
and we obviously missed the.
in front of the employee's representative.
Yeah, and we would add that in as well, and I'm sorry I missed it. And then on 10.5, we really didn't feel like the word promptly, it has different meaning to everybody, and there's no firm timeline for promptly, so we didn't put that in, but we did take and crossed out may like you did and took will. That informal action will be documented by a written summary. And so, questions?
Yep.
Yeah, so the issue of like access to getting copies of the materials, you're saying that like sometimes the employee wants it confidential and
Mhm.
you want to be able to keep that private. Then how is the association able to assess that discipline is even-handed? That like in this case, this person got just a verbal warning, but in the other case, you went all the way to a final warning or termination. Like how can we assess that discipline is even-handed if we don't have copies of the other discipline?
I would hope that there would be enough that share with the association. It would be only when there's no reason that we would have a problem with it unless someone said that they didn't want, they could ask for you to have a copy.
So under the law for just cause grievances, we can file an info request and
Yes, you can.
We know that.
provide
We talked about
We know that.
So I guess I'm not sure why you wouldn't then just provide them, but rather wait for us to do the info request. Because you're not able to keep it confidential.
And we did talk about that because we know that if you did a records request, we would need to give you that, right? And we talked about that. There was just some strong feelings in the room that if somebody came and didn't want union representation and didn't want it shared with people, that they had that, they used to have that right.
We know we'd have to turn it, the district would have to provide it if
We
you
know
made it.
we'd have to turn it over.
Usually that would be like in response to another situation that you were thinking about grieving and you made a records request. So it probably wouldn't include every single time somebody received that. It would be something specific had happened. But yeah, we talked about the fact that if you guys make that request, the district has to provide it.
Anything else? And then if you guys have questions, like.
So, all right, and then we have Article 7, a workshop here.
Is that an initial proposal or did we make, I can't remember, did we have a,
I don't have
It's
anything.
Article
So
it's your opening?
your
Okay.
opening.
I'll go get more.
Got one?
Yeah. I do like the.
Mhm. Thanks.
Is there enough?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. All right, so 7.1, again, classified employees asking for equal representation on the planning, the beginning of the year schedule and staff development activities involving classified employees. Then for 7.2, we've requested that for 9-month employees, a minimum of 2 days or 4 half days will be scheduled as work days before the first day of the school year. We have a lot of things that are required for us to do to save schools, get schedules worked out, and some of our members are getting that handed to them as students are arriving. So need a little bit of time to prepare would be great. 7.3, that our calendars, the 9, 10, 11, and 12-month calendars be provided by May 15th, and that they will include the dates of employment, the days of work days, the job title for each, and specify which job classifications tied each calendar. And then after May 15th, the total number of work days for each calendar may only be changed with mutual agreement with the association. Making sure that there's any change that we will be able to bargain that. Okay, moving on to 7.4, and which was the original start of the article. If changes are made after an employee's work calendar year starts for that fiscal year, the district association and impacted employee must mutually agree to the changes to their work calendar. The affected employee must receive the request a minimum of 2 weeks before their scheduled work time is to be changed. Then down to D, if the affected employee chooses to work on the previously scheduled work days, the supervisor will be responsible for determining work site and job duties for the scheduled work time. We've added as long as the employee meets the minimum qualifications for the work and it is not outside of their current job classification. Okay. Moving to page 2. We struck out the D in that section. This is talking about replacement work. So that if someone is scheduled to do a replacement work, that we believe that we have this addressed in another spot in the article of how that work would be paid out. In a different article. Mm-hmm.
Can you guys, I don't see a definition. Can you guys define replacement work?
Yeah, I was confused about that. Like, when does that happen?
I think also that this article was written in a slightly confusing way. So it's unclear what exactly this section is. It is tied under like 7.4 letter D on page 1, which is about an affected employee choosing to work on a previously scheduled workday.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. So obliquely.
And it's a very specific situation.
Good. Thank you.
Then going back to the new A, the supervisor will notify his employee of the request for copies. Because again, we've asked them to be mutually agreed to. B, employees can use paid accruals instead of working in a reassigned area or job. So again, we believe that employees should have that option. And so all the struck out language below would be taking away the infected employee that they would have to. This was referred to it as canceled days, which again was a little confusing in this article.
Yeah, essentially, if you have to reach mutual agreement to change their work schedule, then we don't need all this language about using their own paid leave to cover a canceled day, because the person, you need to reach some kind of mutual agreement about what you're doing to their calendar, and it's not going to be like you can just automatically cancel and follow this contract language.
So under the current setup, if a change is made, then the employee gets the option of either working on those previously scheduled days or taking leave on those days, correct?
I don't know if the example applies, but we have like the issue of like a 12-month employee there's like a snow day and they're like forced to use their sick days to cover. Here's an example.
I
And it's
think,
just like, we're not gonna do that anymore, so we don't need this section.
I
Does
think
anybody-
this
oh,
was
sorry,
used more for like an 11-month employee or 10-month employee. And they came in early to get their office set up. And then they work with their supervisor to take that day off at a later time, I think is how this language was used.
And I think it depends.
Depends on the
if it's a
supervisor.
Department, if like there's just, it's all over the place and what happens in her building with the situation likely is different than what happens with me in my building situation.
So are you saying you don't want people to be able to flex their release?
No, we're not trying to get rid of flexing.
To me, this doesn't look like flex days.
It has to do with if the workday has been canceled,
Right.
and our proposal is that the employer can no longer just cancel someone's workday.
So it's not like
Like
they
all
came
this-
in early.
No.
Yeah, like on letter B on page 2, letter B, it says the crossed out, the affected employees will be able to take any paid leave that they would have qualified for if the workday had not been canceled. We're proposing that you can no longer just cancel someone's workday.
So like a snow day.
I think it's
Yeah.
different too.
Inclement weather
This is-
different?
It's
Yes,
not about
yeah.
whether, it's
Okay.
about like if your school schedule. a
I just wanna make
supervisor has come
sure.
to you and said,
Yeah,
we
this
want
is
to
not
change a couple of your work days. We can't just change that. It needs to be mutual with both parties and parts of the association. And you can't just say, you can't work those days anymore. Now you have to do this. There's a procedure.
Is that happening?
It has an example listed in here, under letter G that struck out. For example, bus service is canceled for one elementary school on the 31st, affecting 2 drivers. The transportation supervisor and driver scheduled those drivers into a prearranged late afternoon evening activity on the 2nd. So we're saying like you shouldn't just be able to cancel people's work days that you've scheduled.
Okay, so we really don't, I think
We're
that this
gonna
is
go back and
maybe.
read this again a couple
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
and think about it.
I think they both have a lot.
Anybody had other examples of when that's happened? That'd be helpful, other than the one written in here. It'd be nice just to,
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
think.
I feel like
As a longtime principal, I can't.
Yeah.
we've had some folks, I think it's like the 202 days versus the 205 days people, like registrars. I heard last year, someone had planned to come in for 2 days, but then the other staff in that building were able to get the job done, and so they weren't needed anymore. Management didn't pose them out of any pay. It worked out. They were able to move that time and all the things, so their calendar days stayed the same. But a different admin, that could have been a different thing. Just say, nope, we actually don't need you for those 2 extra days.
although even under the current language, it says that the employee can choose to work on those days, right? In current B, affected employees will be informed that they may choose to take the previously scheduled work days as unpaid leave or may choose to work. So even if the supervisor said, I'm changing your schedule, I don't want you to come in on those 2 days, the employee could apparently under current language still choose to work.
And that's where there's some conflicting with the cancellation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
So we're
confusing
trying
language.
to eliminate the conflicting language and have it just say, we're not gonna do it.
It's definitely confusing.
Yes. Very much so. Okay.
I don't think it's realistic. Given the money to- you know, so even if they say. Yeah.
And then, just the last paragraph there, the article does not apply to situations where the district cancels work days for any classified employee as part of a layoff. Because of budgetary
I was going to say, if
fluctuations.
this is not a furlough days, a district-wide furlough days thing either.
Yeah, because that last paragraph, the reason we added that is purely for clarification purposes, because the very last sentence says, in those cases, the layoff provision shall apply.
Yeah.
So we just make that very clear.
So I had an understanding a little bit a year ago that much of this was when the district was taking days, like 12, 13 during the Great Recession. So when it comes to that, what conditions were those days?
We'd have to bargain
Yeah.
a unit-wide furlough days.
Reduction of days.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, what do you propose? Do you guys want to look a little bit more on language, or is there?
We also had a thought too, that we exchanged some initial proposals on some of the same articles. So kind of wondering if maybe we should hash out like which balls in which court, if that might be helpful.
Great question.
Yeah, I definitely think like we should have Article 11 because we both made proposals on it, but we proposed to change our reference and you guys made a lot of language proposal change. So I think it makes sense for us to respond back to you on Article 11.
So that would be what?
We have several that are very close to being ready, and so if you want to like put them on hold for yourselves, like, and let us bring it. That
Okay.
save
Yeah, which
What
are those? A good point.
So Article 6. We just gave you 7. Article 9. And then I believe Article 20, 21, 22, and 23.
Okay.
They're like the leave articles.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if we could work on those and bring them next time.
Perfect.
And then basically anything else is up for grabs for you.
Okay.
That would be
Thank you for that.
And we're happy to like go over that at the end of each time, just so that.
Yeah, I think that's helpful.
I think that's really.
Yeah. So feel free to show up, feel free to call dibs.
So we gave you guys a 21. Is your 21 going to be just your opening proposal or okay?
Yeah.
And then we can figure out who's going to
Yeah.
be on deck for account.
Yeah. Right now, it's trying to make sure we have all of our opening proposals to you, so you can see.
Yeah.
Where our starting point is across the board.
Fair enough.
Before we start working on counters to stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
We, I think, are pretty close to being fully presented, other than the
Financial.
We had, we
We had 20, but
we
we'll
were
wait
gonna
for
do
your
20.
20 first.
Okay.
We were gonna do, 5.
But now we owe you a response on 5 because you presented 5
That's right.
tonight.
So we're good because we'll wait on 20 then.
Yeah. But we'll bring 5 as a counter proposal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think other than that, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
payment and insurance on 25 and
Yeah.
26.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that.
You're gonna be working in 25, 26, like you said.
No, yeah, I said we're gonna continue. We're not ready.
Then the other piece is like for us to finish all of our opening proposals, we still, I think, have some items on the info request that we're waiting on. So if y'all could look back at the info request and just see where you're at.
Do that.
And then we talked about maybe meeting with Jane, so you could explain the data that you did send.
Sure.
That would be helpful, just so that we know what we're looking at and how we're looking at it, so that we can prepare. So it'll probably be just maybe 3 of us coming to meet with you and whoever it is that you would like to meet with. You want us to send the request for a meeting? Okay.
It would not be any proposal, it's just. for the
Include Lindsay
state.
Hart in that request if you know where to go in.
Is there something particular on that list that you guys were hoping to get?
We just want to make sure we're reading it right when we're looking at FTE.
No, I'm saying, is there something particular that you were hoping to get?
Oh, from
In
all
the-
the
by
things on
the
the info request, I mean, there's a lot there that. Essentially, we're gonna need all of it to make sure we've, all of our final opening proposals.
Okay,
So,
there's some of it that we give you every 2 weeks that was on that list. And we already provided every 2 weeks, so we weren't gonna provide it again.
Sure.
Can you
Yeah,
guys
I can
know?
double check if that's
Can you just
sufficient.
look at it?
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
Is there, we have 7:20 now. Do we expect that we will have any?
We won't,
served?
we won't be able to have any more responses.
Right, so I think that we're probably in that same situation.
Okay.
A little more work to do.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank you
for
for the
hosting
great
us.
I have just a moment. I just want to make
Yes, you may.
sure on behalf of the association. We know you, we know your heart. So when you say things like, it's in the teacher's contract, so it makes sense to line it up. Thank you for acknowledging that we are paying attention. We're trying to do the same thing. I just want to make sure, especially folks outside of this room, don't hear the words and just assume that we are going to assume that our language is not as good as the teacher's language. I know that's not your intention.
Oh, not in any
Yeah,
way,
yeah,
shape,
no,
or
I just
form.
want to acknowledge that people are gonna watch this, and
That's
so,
fair. Thank you.
yeah.
I just want everyone to follow the language, and when they're closer to the same, it makes it easier for everyone to really know it
Yeah.
and follow it.
Yeah,
Because if you're following language for classified and you're following language for certified and they're totally different, it makes it really hard.
it's hard for everyone. It's hard for the whole district. We acknowledge that. We just want you to know that we may still believe that we have better language to bring than
And I-
what
and I-
is in the
and I-
teacher's contract.
Okay, and
And
I don't
so-
want you to think
Yeah,
that.
no, I know. I don't want anyone outside of the room who isn't doing this process with us to think that,
No, I
hey, we're not
appreciate that.
representing or that you are making an assumption.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
very much. Thank you.
Liz,
Okay.
Liz, like the one we brought back tonight.
Yeah.
We used the licensed language, the 3 that we kept them because they're specific.
Yes, ma'am.
And they fit for classified, right?
Yes.
So there are specific
Yes.
pieces that need to be addressed here that don't, it's just not a blanket.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
we hear you.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
well-
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
You all, and thank you.
Thank you.